are you recording, Kaitlin? Okay. It says, when we last left our band of fearless explorers, they were in a strange, yet again, completely black world. It's
So racist.
It's surprising that it happened like twice in a row. But anyways, the where it is even colder than than the dark, and you've now moved from a open air museum surrounded by a lot of dead trees and vegetation to a very well, basically it's like a very urbanized area where the
tenement city.
Yeah, where the well, no, I mean it has all kinds of structures. It's in many ways it's similar to the European model where you have stores at the bottom with then it'd be $2, not much, but strange it's happened twice. Exactly.
Sure.
Yeah, that was the line I was trying to get to, but I never quite did it. So there you are. But anyway, so they're 6-story buildings. Okay, at least except for some that are much larger. And in between these buildings, which are mostly conjoined to each other, there are these narrow streets that are just wide enough for 2 sets of sidewalks and a streetcar track. Okay, and you have run into. You haven't spent much time examining the city. You did follow the streetcar tracks over to just by randomly the buildings. You found a firefighting station. Okay, which had and which had its own version of a streetcar fire truck, and it apparently ran off of a large battery pack that was inside. So these are independently powered, at least unless because you saw no indication of a electrical connection between the in the old days, they would have wires that went overhead of streetcars, and you'd have an arm that connected the streetcar up to the wires with a big wheel, and as they rolled along, they would take electricity down, and then it would be grounded onto the actual streetcar track. So, anyways, but that doesn't seem to be the case here. The case here seems to be that they do run on streetcar tracks, but they have the normal expectations of the various types of tenders that you find in a station. Looking at the technology of the firefighting, it looked fairly advanced, not tremendously advanced. Well, actually, no, it's not. It's not advanced. It's what was it? Oh yeah, actually it is. It's fairly advanced. Because said the firefighting equipment, some of it that was left behind, everything looks like it's been picked over and taken somewhere. There is some stuff that's been left behind, like the streetcars themselves and other things. Some of the firefighting gear is gone. Some of it's still there. Some of these big tanks that held oxygen are still there.
Sure.
And workbenches and things like that, but a lot of stuff has obviously been removed, but not like in an emergency, like stuff scattered all over the place, like some.
All right.
I mean, it looks like a deliberate evacuation of this urban area. And when we last left, you guys were talking about things like sending drones up and other things like that, and maybe finding a library or a government building.
All right, Bruce.
Wow.
Okay. Mike's going to look at the battery packs to see if they're like our battery packs, more advanced, less advanced, that sort of thing.
Okay. All right. Okay. So.
We got berated last adventure for not bringing anything back. Might as well.
This time we'll bring back a truckload of just junk. Here you go.
Just bring back
Yeah,
a
that sounds
truckload
like
of
a
these
plan.
batteries.
Yeah. Here are the batteries that
But
are less
My
advanced than
question
ours. Have
is,
fun.
what does the technology look like? We already covered the fact that the computer ran off of like tubes for the electrical aspects of it. So it's kind of like a weird 1940s, 1950s technology, but it's advanced in the fact that they have computers.
Yes, but it is just a dumb terminal. It's not an actual computer.
Right.
It's just
It's plugged
a
into
tube
something.
terminal.
So that means that they have
Yes.
somewhere there's something that actually can hold data and process things. I mean, they're just using an
Yes.
access point.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's kind of like a weird hybrid of technology and retro, not
Mm.
technology, I guess.
Retro, not
Yeah.
technology. Wow.
I don't know what the word I was
Mhm.
looking for. Okay.
Do we
Okay.
ever know
Yikes.
words?
Yeah, well, you don't.
Okay. Well, you can definitely see there's these big packs. Okay. And so the question is, how are you going to tell what they are other than like say warnings on them about things like fire?
Is there any sort of label, voltage, amps,
Got to look for the
the
union label.
approximates? Yeah,
Oh,
look for the
okay.
union label. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, no sticks, no stems. Yeah. All
yeah.
right. Check.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
The
Mike would know if you have a given size in our world, it should hold about that so many watts, has so many watt hours.
One point 1.5 volts is pretty common for any battery size other than 9, 6, and whatever 12.
correct.
And those were usually
But
a bunch of 1.5
to run these
batteries linked together.
trucks, you're going to need something more like a car battery size. It gives you like 30 to 50 volts.
I honestly want to. Well, car battery's 12, but
12, yeah.
I think that they're getting the power through the rails somehow. Not like a
All
New York
right.
subway where they have 3 rails that they run on. One's a power line and the other 2 are per track.
Yes.
But they're
okay.
like actually,
Sure.
I think they're drawing the energy directly from the tracks.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
There is a label on there that says
All right.
that the battery packs in the fire truck are rated at 325 kilowatt hours.
Okay. Is that compatible with, is that about equal to what we would have for battery packs of that size back home?
Well, battery packs, range between, 100 to 400, kilowatt
hours.
So,
Okay. All
if
right.
if you're asking for the amount of voltage on it, it's labeled as 24 volts.
24. Okay, that's pretty. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Actually, probably
All right.
27 volts.
27 volts. All right.
How odd.
Well,
Yeah.
We're on the fringe paths. It's supposed to be odd. All right. Okay. So Mike's going to take the battery pack anyway, and put it. Yeah.
How are you planning on taking it?
How heavy is it?
How
big is it?
A couple 100 pounds, I imagine.
Shit, that's a little. Damn. Okay. Well, I'm not taking it, obviously.
Well, Mike, do you remember the old cadmium? Well, I guess they're ion batteries that the radios used to run on in the military. They're about a little bit bigger and a little bit squatter than a brick, and they weighed a bunch. And then I remember for the old missile systems that we had these like drop-in batteries that were narrower, but about the weight of a car battery that you had to stick in the damn thing. I mean, it was like really
All
old.
right.
And then they switched to lithium-ion batteries that weighed nothing.
All I
Those
know is
little
our old
plastic
transmitters
boxes.
were about 200 to 300 pounds. Okay.
Well,
All right. Well, okay. Then we'll just leave it here then.
yeah,
But
the Tesla Semi, by the way, has its batteries weigh 8 tons.
Oh, jeez.
shit.
Battery packs.
How much does a car weigh in general?
It depends on the
Well,
car.
cars start above a ton, generally speaking.
So 8
Right.
tons is
Pinto was 2,000 pounds for $2,000.
okay. So if it weighs 8 tons, that's a lot compared to a vehicle.
Yes.
Well, trucks pull something like,
Yeah,
100 tons.
yeah. If it's a truck, then yeah, it would
Yeah.
be bigger.
16
But still,
tons, and what do you get?
Okay. Pretty much.
And if you-
Okay. All right. Well.
For
All right.
hundreds.
No. Well, I take a photo of the label on the battery and stuff, and then we'll press onward.
Okay.
yeah, we want to try different kinds of buildings.
Sounds like a plan, Chenway.
How late is it getting?
What do you mean by late? I mean, how much time has passed since you came
Yeah.
to this world?
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, it's always dark, but
yeah. I'm trying to think here. You spent. Okay, because you guys like hiked here, right?
no, we drove.
You did drive. Okay, all right.
Bruce,
I'm going to say that this is getting close to at least 6 hours.
okay, 2
We've
questions.
been on the world 6 hours.
Yeah, at least
Okay.
6 hours because you went around the open air museum
Village.
for a while, okay, and then you
Yep.
went off and you examined that one home, okay, and then you followed the road until you finally ran into a bunch of into this industrial area.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Bruce. So there's no moon or stars, right?
You personally see no illumination in the sky.
Okay.
And when you haven't done any kind of testing or anything like that. You just look up and you see no light.
Have we seen an aurora?
You have seen no auroras.
Okay.
This might be a good time to put up the drone, Jason.
Well, yeah.
Because I was thinking like maybe we're just like in a very high latitude, and it's dark all the time because it's winter and we're past the Arctic Circle and it's going to be dark all the time.
Hmm.
And it's certainly pretty cold. But if you can't tell the moon or stars, you're going to have a hard time finding the latitude.
Yeah, Bruce, we haven't seen a sun, correct?
You have not seen a sun.
It's been dark the
All
entire
right.
time. So no,
Mm.
no sun.
Oh, does a
So
compass work? I mean, I know we can't really use it to go somewhere, but does it work? Is there like a magnetic pole here?
There is a magnetic pole.
All right, very good.
Okay, well, let's find a place where we can set up and launch the drone.
All right, sounds good.
Drone launch. Sorry.
Zoom.
So, like maybe back at that school, was there any room around the school, or was it all built up to the road, basically?
There was like an open area, like where people could get. Like, remember, one of the reasons that that there is this wide sidewalk on either side of the streetcar type track is because things need to be put on and off of that kind of vehicle. So there's
Right.
room. It's not like there's a 3-foot sidewalk like you might find in suburbia.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So we do have enough space to launch it down the road.
It goes upstairs.
All right.
Through doors, through doors, and you're inside, and then you have whatever might be in there. Because as far as I know, you haven't actually examined any of these schools or anything like that.
No, we haven't.
Okay.
I'm gonna start working on getting the drone set up, and we'll just launch it down the street then.
All right. I'm gonna test the atmosphere.
Well, we did send up a weather balloon already.
All right. What did it come back with?
That the oxygen level was lower than normal.
Oh, that's
and
right. That's right. I'd forgotten. That's true.
Nothing really horrid other than the fact that it was a lower oxygen level.
Yeah. Also, the relative humidity is low.
And the barometric pressure was higher.
Yeah. Barometric pressure is very stable.
Okay.
That's something you would know over time. You wouldn't know initially.
Right.
So I go out in the middle of the street, stand on the track, right next to the track, and I go, Stella! And see if anybody.
And there's an echo.
Stella?
Stella.
A streetcar.
That was more like Stella. Huh. That. Huh. It comes bouncing back.
I thought if you yelled Stella, you'd see this woman come out and yell Harcourt Fenton Mud.
I was about to ask who's Stella.
That wasn't. Yeah, I don't think any of them were named Stella.
Yep, all right. Okay.
So all right.
Launch the drone.
Launch the drone. All right. So you launch the drone up. What kind of cameras and such do you have on this drone?
Everything.
Okay.
Literally.
Let's then start.
This is the everything drone.
This is the big one.
You're going to have to tell me what it is that you want to see using what sensors, because obviously you can't have them all up at the same time.
We'll start with forward-looking infrared and regular image capture. Chuck, what are you eating or doing? Because it makes a lot of noise.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm taking items out of a box. I will mute myself while I do that.
Okay.
So
I did not know it was making so much. If I can figure out how to do mute.
You just hear over Mike's comms the fact that he's unpacking a box.
Okay, so we launched it.
Okay,
we'll use infrared first, and if we're not getting anything with that, we'll try.
All right. No, you launch it. It goes up. Like I said, it seems like the buildings tend to be around 6 stories tall. There seems to be a few buildings that are bigger than that. Okay. And there are how high up are you going?
Enough to clear the buildings and get a good image of the lay of the land.
All right, so you're going to basically are going to try to fly around at about 100 feet.
Yeah, or more.
Okay. All right. Well, you see, what you can see is, like I said, there's lots of buildings. They all have lots of glass on them. There's various banners and there's a lot of religious symbols on them.
Okay. What do the banners say?
The banners say things like, it says in unity truth.
Okay.
It says togetherness is best. Recycle and scarcity is not sharing. That's on banners. Okay, you also see like a lot of religious symbols, a lot of iconography. Anybody have any skill in history or religion of any kind?
I actually have knowledge history.
Okay, give me a check, please.
All right. I'll take it. 5.
5. Okay. You recognize that there are a number of symbols that are, I mean, the classic, Christian symbol of the cross is repeated many times. Okay. However, there are a few others, which, um, let's see here, we got here, that you recognize as being a it looks an awful lot like an Eastern Orthodox symbol of some kind.
Lovely. I'm gonna point out the Eastern Orthodox symbols,
I thought that's what we had been seeing.
You've been seeing those on those buildings in the open air museum. Okay,
Oh, okay.
But there seems to be more of more of a mix and a predominantly Western Christian symbols. But you still see a few of the Eastern Orthodox ones.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. So there are a couple of big stadium type looking places where like arenas.
Oh, wow.
Arenas kind of thing with stages on them, but also lots and lots of seats, like people get together and they do stuff.
Is it like a sports field or just more of a amphitheater?
It could be either. I mean, there's this light dusting of snow over everything. If you're asking, are there goalposts at the end of each one? The answer is no. But
Okay.
it could be something like a soccer field.
So it's maybe 100 yards of space and all that, kind of plenty of room for.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's and you see that there's these big, ginormous panels, like ginormous lighting panels that are over top of this stadium.
Okay.
Okay. You also see occasionally a post, like a metal post rising up above the buildings and continuing up out of your sight.
Interesting.
Like maybe a flagpole, or
Could be a flagpole, but
is there like a remnant of a flag
it
on
looks
it?
to be about maybe 5 feet in diameter.
So, when you say it rises up out of sight, if I were to circle one,
yeah, okay,
and kind of follow it up, how far up does it go?
okay, it goes up about 300 feet,
Okay.
where it goes into into a kind of a lattice, other things joining up to it, like girders, the same kind of things, and attached to all these are a vast array of lighting panels.
Okay. I think I figured out why we're not seeing any sky.
Okay.
We're in a giant.
Why are we not
dome.
seeing any sky? You think we're in a giant stadium?
I think we're in a giant dome.
Oh, no, not under the dome.
Or we could be like underground for all we know.
Well, just as long as they don't announce
snow in the
carousel,
ground
we'll
when
be
it's
okay.
underground?
It could be cold. He didn't say it was snow. He said it was frozen and icy.
Yeah.
Yes.
It
Well,
is.
we found frozen grass under it, though.
Yes,
Why would there be frozen grass there?
It's like permafrost.
All right, this world has been dark for a long time. The people adapted to it by creating these lighting panels, so they'll have light from time to time.
It's like the idea of a Dyson sphere, kind of.
What's a Dyson sphere?
Yes, I can see that.
All right. A Dyson sphere is where you build a planet around a sun. It's It's theoretical entirely because it couldn't honestly be done with. I mean, the amount of materials it would take to create something of that size. You're basically building a planet the size of Earth's orbit. So
yes, surface area I've read is like 2 billion Earths.
Yeah. So, but
Yeah.
if these poles go up to these giant girder system, which have all these lights panels stuck to it.
But how
All
high
right.
do they go up, though? Do they go up like a normal distance, or?
What's a normal
All right,
distance? He just
Bruce,
said
I'll
they
be
go up.
dropping off until I get back home.
Okay.
All right, see y'all in about a half hour.
A distance that
Okay.
would be in the kind of stadium that you use for like a sporting event, rather than the kind of stadium you use to have a whole city inside it.
I'm not flying inside the stadium. I'm flying outside of it. And he says these rods come off the top of some of the buildings, go up
No,
an
they
additional
come up between the buildings.
between the buildings.
Or they come up through the buildings. I'm saying is that they're every so often, and they go up, and I'm saying you fold one up, and it went up about 300 feet. At which point you saw this array. There were like other things connected to it, and there was this array of what looked like big not even frosted,
cross beams.
Just kind of transparent panels with elements inside them that you're assuming are light. They could theoretically be heat.
So I was kind of thinking of what was that movie with Jim Carrey in it about the city in the big dome, and it was a TV show.
The Truman Show.
The Truman Show. Yeah, I was thinking like the Truman Show, but
okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna drop down below the grid work and fly in a direction and kind of get an idea of how big this lattice work and how far it runs. Does it seem to cover the whole city? Does it come to an end at any point?
Okay. Are you going to stay up at the 300 feet or so?
Yeah.
Okay. You can see that these things are connected to each other. They're connected to these cross pieces. Okay, but they're also connected to each other, and and you see these large conduits going from one to another and going over to those big pylons, like so those structural supports, and so there is enough. It's not like this is a solid layer of these things. There are there are holes between them. I'm saying because but it's obvious that they're supported by the strength of this lattice that's up there. Okay. Anyways, so yeah, you keep going, and then we get to the end. Well, you get to a point where the buildings kind of
the edge of town.
Well, no, they don't. They don't seem to stop.
So the buildings just go on and on and on and on and on.
They keep going on and on, but you do see what looks to be like large rail systems that are moving through various, between certain sections of town and other sections of town. I mean, the more you travel around, the more of this looking like Mega City 1. Okay, this is a huge number of buildings and stretched out with these structures as far as your sensors can see.
So I can basically travel to the range of the drone.
Well, I don't know what the range of the drone is.
Let me look it up.
And you're also, I'm assuming you're going slowly and mostly hovering.
I am. Well, it's not really a hover. It's just.
Because if you're not doing that, I'm not sure how much you're, as far as I know, you're just doing forward-looking visuals.
Well, you can scan around. It's.
Okay.
Give me a moment. I'll come up with some stuff. Somebody else occupy Bruce for a minute.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anybody else want to do something?
No.
Because the last time I heard you guys, had gone into, I mean, you guys went into a building and now I assume you went back out onto the street.
Oh yeah, are there other buildings? I mean,
There's
you
buildings
mentioned other kinds of buildings, so.
Well, it's not so much what kinds of buildings they are, but whether their functions are. They're laid out differently inside. Okay, if you're interested in finding like a hospital or something like that, you're going to have to search for it, because there's a lot of buildings. And you don't and you don't see any real kind of I mean, there is signage, but I'm not sure how much the signage means to you.
Well, we can read the local language, right?
Yes, yeah. But I'm saying is that it's, it's unless they use symbols like H for hospital, and even arrow this way, it's more like, what you need is like some kind of master map of the, of the rail system, essentially.
So there isn't anything which says like, rail terminal or something.
Well, they probably say something, they might have route this, right, B route, E route, things like that, and a lot of numbers after them and whole rows of timetables, but the local one's only going to have like, is going to have a couple of them at least, because they're going to shift different places. They're not going to stay on one straight thing. As you can see, there's probably a lot of getting on and getting off of whatever kinds of rail thing is, depending upon how far away you're going and how far you think you need to go. Because everything you're seeing as you look around is that everything is kind of like a cell, all right? Which is that you've got like, stores, you've got homes, you've got schools, you've got, and a lot of the stores are things like, hardware shops and furniture and things like that, so hospitals, probably you'd have to go maybe, I'd say about every mile, you'd run into a hospital. Schools, about the same thing, about every mile, you'd run into a school. Probably less than that, frankly.
Have we found a rail station, like a train station around here?
You haven't found anything, like I said, you're not telling me you're traveling around a lot, okay? So that's why I'm I'm hesitating by giving you information. If you wanted to say, we're going to do this for the next 8 hours, tell us what we find, I would be in a better position to actually give you something more meaningful. But I mean, if we go blow by blow, then it's kind of like, but let's just say, because this I'm sure will be of interest to you, let's say you do travel, a mile down this railway, and there's cross rails that go across it, every couple hundred feet, there's a cross rail that goes a different direction. They don't have lights. They just basically just, there doesn't seem to be lights, okay? And but let's say you could find a hospital, okay? So let's just go there because that would probably answer a lot of your questions. All right?
All right then.
Okay.
Okay, so you go to a hospital and because it says something like St. Peter's blessed hospital. Okay. And with all the normal with interesting symbols on it, the caduceus, I think that's how you pronounce it, the Greek symbol for healing,
Caduceus.
Yeah, caduceus, and there's like big doors that can be opened. Now at this point, okay, these doors are locked and you will have to break in, and I'm assuming you're okay with that, right?
I'm okay with it. I don't know about anyone else.
Well, who's gonna open the doors?
For lockpicking? Most likely me.
Does the device which you can use to help open locks exist in this world? I mean, I know you had that a while ago in Bureau 13, but does it exist
If
in
you're talking about
Fringeworthy?
an auto picker, yes, they'd exist. They exist in Fringeworthy as well because they exist in our own world.
Okay, then, since we have our equipment, like, wouldn't we have one of those?
I don't know.
We never
Sure.
exclusively said we had one.
If you want it, you use your equipment token and say, yes, we have that.
Okay, I'll use my equipment token.
Okay. All right. Now on the big
Fine.
main doors down at the bottom, there aren't any there are no locks. They just seem to be closed and probably they're locked, closed in that position. But in some of the side doors, there are locks on them that have like key locks on them. Okay, you can attempt to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, we don't see like electronic locks or anything like
You
that
do.
anywhere.
You
We
see
do?
things look like electronic pads, like you could use like some kind of a card, a SIM card or something like that. And but there is a lock on that door. All right, so you can attempt to pick that. So somebody give me a thievery check. Isn't that one of the skills?
I don't think so.
I would say lock picking is a skill on its own.
Lock picking, then. Yeah, lock picking.
All right.
Give me a lock picking check.
All right.
Give you a +2 with having the auto picker.
That would be an 11, my friend.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, then you basically have no trouble. I mean, it's a little stiff, okay, for out of disuse apparently, but you crank it just fine and without damaging your equipment, and the door opens out towards you as you would expect for it doesn't seem so much like it's a security door, more like just keeping people out of areas they shouldn't be in. Okay, and you go walking down a hallway, and it goes and it has rooms that are full of jackets and gowns and things like that, and there's a laundry and other things like that. And these all look very modern to you. Okay, so they're they look very much somewhere in the 21st century level of technology.
So does it look like this was like stripped of anything that's not tied down, and when whoever evacuated it?
Yeah, it looks like it's been emptied out.
Jackets and hospital gowns.
Okay, except for a few things that have been left behind, probably because they're soiled. Blood on them. Okay.
Squeamish people.
Does it look like the kind of blood that we're familiar with? It's not like green or something.
It could also be stuff from various medical fluids that are given to people.
Yeah, we want to be careful. I heard that some people on your world were afraid of unfreezing things in glaciers because they might release a disease. You don't want to release a disease here.
Well, I mean, mercurochrome has a very reddish, brownish cast to it. It's not the same color as blood when it dries. So I'm saying there's a variety of things. If you want to go and take some of these discarded clothings and take them back and do some kind of examination, you're welcome to do so.
I'll leave that to the science people.
Okay. All right. Then nobody's doing it, I gather.
Yeah.
I'm not a science person.
Look around. Maybe I know everything's been stripped, but like, is there, I don't know, let's see, maybe even
Maybe we can see
a map on a wall, or even a mural on a wall that's just a picture of something, or painting.
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of bins for disposal of various things, and they're labeled wood, plastic, glass, metal, like major recycling kind of things going on. Okay,
Are they empty?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Okay.
But I was looking for like, let's say like pictures or paintings or murals or something.
There's going to be some of that. Sure. There's going to be somebody's.
What's in them, on them? What do they depict?
Scenes of there's going to be scenes of people who were like all together in a hospital, all wearing these various gowns, having things like stethoscopes on them, their heads wrapped in what looks like surgical garb. Some people wearing glasses, rings on their fingers. They look pretty normal,
I mean, do they have like any? Is there anything recognizable? Like maybe it's like a skyline of New York City or something.
No,
Or
there are a number of. Occasionally, you'll see a picture of a flower,
or like a map of the United States or something.
No, not in a hospital. Would you expect to see that in a hospital?
Probably not, but
okay. Well, I mean, there are some maps of the hospital itself.
I mean, maybe there's something which says like our hospitals
basically
are
up on the
located.
or something. So
you are here.
No,
okay.
you are here. Unfortunately, that you probably want to go into the central receiving area because, like right now, you're dealing with things along the side and back in the area where like doctors' lounges and the people who work there where they would be at. Okay, so yeah, you might find little things like you might find a little pewter nutcracker sitting inside of a closet. You might find just a few knickknacks here and there that haven't made their way into like one of the recycling bins.
But nothing with like writing on it. I mean, substantial writing on it, not a name or something.
There are
a book.
No,
newspaper.
But it looks an awful lot like no. You don't see that. What you see is you see a lot of what appears to be places where there probably were computer monitors and such, just rows and rows of desks like that, and they all basically go into into like these big holes in the floors with cables sticking out of them, and it looks like they're using like fiber optics.
So if they took away the monitors, they probably took away the computers too. And even if not, I know computers are sort of fragile and wouldn't last too long, just left out in the cold.
The image you gave me with that, the first thing that came to my head was, oh, look, we found the billing department.
Right. And what you don't see is you don't see a whole lot of like plugs for things to be plugged in. Okay, it looks so it would be logical to assume that these computer monitors and whatever's attached to them are powered by the same cable that's carrying the data to it.
Interesting.
So you get this sense that it's that they had a very centralized computer system, and there's things up on the wall that looks like they've been detached. Okay, like where maybe there might have been monitors and things like that, but like I said, it looks like the place was decommissioned and disassembled as much as was feasible.
As much as they could. So
it looks as feasible as someone made some decisions saying we're not going to take this, we're not going to take that, and so there's things that are left behind. But I'm saying it's like it's basically like going someplace and finding out that it's every place you look, it looks like even things like a business like this has been majorly dismantled or it's been moved. Whatever it is has been moved to another location. So but as you travel through, you can find it's basically big just. There's wards like A through 100, and inside there's places on the floor with like looks like rubber markings, like where there might have been beds, except the beds are gone. Okay, and there's, like I said, all those plugs on the walls, like where like leads might come out, to a bed, but they're not. All that's left is the plug in the wall. So but you can tell that this hospital, took care of probably thousands of patients.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, and sometimes the beds are, and you find some wards, like you find the pediatric wards. Pediatric wards are very large. They're at least a third number of the ones for the adult wards.
Do there happen to be any filing cabinets, or is it apparent that they did everything on the computers?
It looks like for whatever reason they did everything on computers, as if they were, as either they didn't need paper or they were avoiding the use of paper.
Huh. Well, fine then. I guess I'm not going to be snooping into patient records. Because I'm that kind of nosy.
You want to read about
Are there any
grandma's
offices here?
bone spur or what?
Maybe I do.
Yes. As I say, you're going up and down. By the way, you're going up and there are elevators, but you're going up and down stairs. And so yeah, there are offices. Sure, there's, like I say, in the various wards, they have some offices that are marked as consultation, and there's some of them which are marked as nurses lounge, and there are other ones, family, and lots of chapels. I like to say every floor has their own chapel.
Okay. I'm saying this in character. Okay, we get it. You guys were religious.
And you notice all the icon, whatever might have been in there, they've all been removed. So all that stuff was keeping. They were, but you can see the markings on the wall, like where a cross, something had been mounted, something large had been mounted, and lots of pictures where things had been mounted. Okay, and places where speakers had been mounted, but now they're gone, or they could have been monitors of some kind, as in like TV displays or something. So. The doors are fairly standard lever type door attachments. It doesn't look like they in some cases they were removed. Most cases they're still there. But they seem to be made. The doors seem to be thin. They seem to be like flimsy. Like they're just there for privacy.
Lovely. So, what do you think, Chenwei?
And they have bathrooms too. I mean, I didn't mention it. There's lots of bathrooms.
It's not like Gilligan's Island where there's no bathrooms.
Right. Well, that's
because
I'm just leave okay.
Because somehow, if you didn't mention that, Chenwei would be going, "Okay, where's the bathroom?"
Yeah, they go to the bathroom.
Gilligan's Island has no bathrooms, but it does have a bowling alley.
Mm-hmm. But they can't fix a hole in a boat to get off the island.
Well, they tried, but the glue didn't work. Remember that episode?
I do. It's
yeah,
just still ridiculous. They could have a car on the island, but
it was made out of bamboo. Okay, they
bamboo
weren't
floats too.
Yeah, well, at the end they did use a raft. But anyways, yeah, it was silly. Okay, so like I said, but this is a vast operation. I mean, you're walking around and you're like, either this thing serviced a really large area, or they had a whole lot of sick people.
There would be a whole lot of sick people for long enough that they built a ward to house them.
Well, I think that it's the possibility that they not only did they service a lot of people, but I bet there would be more than one of these buildings somewhere in this city too.
Oh no, as I was mentioning, Jason, that if you were to continue to look, you'd find another hospital within a mile.
Wow, that's some dense packed people.
Yeah,
You thought New
that's
York City was crowded.
These people, these buildings, and the apartments are small. They're not large.
Right. They're not large apartments, and they're also not very tall, really. They're not like
right. They only
skyscrapers.
go up about
so.
they only go up about 6 stories.
So I have a 10-hour flight time, 6,000 meter maximum altitude, and it can travel out to 200 kilometers. So.
Okay.
And the optimal cruising speed is 90 to 120 kilometers per hour.
Okay. So which direction are you traveling?
I'm traveling south.
South. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So you travel south and you cross over what looks to be like a river. And this is where one of your first surprises is. I should say your first. One of the things that really makes you go, huh? And that is that you go and look at the river and it's missing. You see a dry riverbank just dusted with some ice. And it's like the water's not there.
They shut off the water before they left.
How
I'm kidding.
considerate.
Well, if we're in an artificial area under a dome, maybe they did turn off the water before they left.
At any point, do the structures, the overhead structures, cease to occur?
No, they just keep adding more of these pillars, and they keep reconnecting, and they keep going.
Can you send the drone up higher?
I
How
don't
high
want to
can you
get
send
into
it?
I just said 6,000 meters.
Well, you can't get that high unless you can hover. Can you
And
hover?
I can, yes.
Okay, then you could fit up in between these panels.
That was my concern, was hitting the panels.
Well, if you're careful.
Okay, then don't. Yeah.
Like I say, they're not like right next to each other, but there's a lot of them. Okay, I mean, we're talking now. You've seen thousands of these things, probably tens of thousands of these things.
Can you aim the drone's cameras up to see how far up these things go?
The camera's mounted on the bottom of the drone. It will pivot around, but it's not that kind of camera.
Yeah.
Here, I'll show you a picture.
Okay, so you're just basically going to go up without knowing what's above you. Is that what you're telling me?
Oh, no, I say don't do it if you can't do it like that.
I'm going to slowly rise in between in an opening, a gap in the girders.
Yeah, there's plenty of them.
That's what the drone looks like. So it does have whirly blades and a pusher motor, and it has the little camera thing on the belly, and LiDAR, and
does it have a way to tell if it's going to go up and hit something?
It has LiDAR and also what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry. It has LiDAR and which is usable for, and shit, I can't think of the term. Sorry. Oh, SAR, which is a how to explain SAR? It's it's like it's kind of like LiDAR. It's a synthetic aperture radar. So it basically can, take images and create detail from it.
Okay. Well, all right. So you fit through the openings there, and you go up slowly. And you don't run into anything, and you start rising, and you keep rising, and you just keep going and going and going and going and going and going. You
So
said,
it's not seeing anything
"Oh yeah, well,
around as it goes up, or
no, it's black below you." I mean, basically, soon you lose the infrared. You have to switch over to something like radar or something like that. You
okay.
know, and it just you do see some very impressive looking structures, like something out of there's some mega structures like what you'd see in Blade Runner and such, some really big complexes like big manufacturing or processing things. But they're dark. Okay.
Is any one of those close enough that we can get to it by traveling?
Sure. I'm sure you could. So you but anyways, what's you said the top height on this thing is?
6,000 meters,
So
6 kilometers.
yeah, 6 kilometers. Okay. Well, yeah, I know what that means. So yeah, no, you one second here. So 6,000 meters, right?
Right.
That's as high as it will go. Yes.
Okay. All right. Then, yeah, you go all the way up that high. Now, one of the things you notice is that you don't go through any kind of a cloud layer. It's just everything is nice and clear below. Of course, radar is going to go right through clouds anyways. But I'm just saying is that it's like if you could see it, if it was lit up, you think you would be able to see it, but nothing seems to be lit up below.
Okay.
And at that distance where you are, I think that I think you might see where the buildings might eventually stop to the south.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Bruce, you said we can't really see that far without infrared.
Well, we're using
Or you mean using the radar? Okay.
laser radar. Is what we're using.
Okay. Well, at least we found the megastructures. That's certainly something to explore.
Yes.
Can you find like maybe a place where you go lower and find a place where like the train tracks converge? So you might find a train station.
Yeah. I was gonna bring it back down and kind of track the structure that's built over the city.
Okay.
And see if it comes to like a central point, or maybe as I get closer to it, I can kind of get an idea of if it converges at any particular location or begins at any particular location. I'm looking for the source, essentially. That would, like, if there's a power source or something that's.
Yeah, one of those big structures I was telling you about is actually south of the city. It's actually not that far away.
Is it like a big pyramid?
No, it's not. It's from the air. It kind of looks like a big giant octopus.
Huh. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. So you guys gonna go there?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
That's my vote.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
you guys have
Sounds
been,
like a plan.
you guys have been going east. I'm sorry, west. You guys have been going west, and then so this is basically going to be backtracking, toward the open air museum and in a southeasterly direction.
Yeah, but the megastructure seems to be a different kind of thing. And we're obviously not finding anything in the city because everything's been stripped
Well,
away. So
we haven't really
useful
looked at the
and
city to say we
informative
can't find
things.
anything.
Pretty much.
I mean,
So
we've checked a couple of buildings.
So you think we should look in some more buildings? Because if all the stuff is stripped, we're not going to find things with useful information. We're probably not going to find much technology unless it's like stuff people didn't want.
Well, my thought on that is if it was an evacuation, an orderly evacuation, then there wouldn't be a whole lot left behind. And all the
Right.
apartment buildings are going to be pretty much the same until we find like that one where somebody left a briefcase full of important documents, which, would take us probably 10 years to search every room in this building or in this city. So
Yeah.
I would say let's try for something that we think might have more information in it that would increase our chances. I mean, if there's nothing there, we'll have to keep looking. So
So try the mega structure unless you can think of like some more buildings to look at in the city.
well, I
I mean,
will run the drone around a bit in the megastructure and kind of get an idea of what surrounds it. Is it just more of the same, more schools and apartments and hospitals and that park? I think is rather interesting. The fact that it's like one of the only areas that seems somewhat open and free of, the buildup. I think that's kind of interesting.
Okay.
Just that in a city that's so packed like this, it seems like a massive waste of space. Does that make sense? I kind of feel that way about graveyards. I mean, it's like these huge tracts of area that are and golf courses as well. You've got these huge areas that are like of limited use. So
I tell you.
And maybe it really is a park and people used to use it when they lived here.
it is a park, obviously, because it said it was like it was a display, essentially, a historical display.
So if you can think of another kind of building to go to, we can do that. If not, let's go to the superstructure.
I think we should head towards the superstructure, and if something catches our eyes along our path, we can always stop too.
Yeah, and like you were saying, it was probably that like one in a 1,000 place where somebody forgot something important that we might find, but we have no way to find those except systematically keep looking at stuff.
Right.
And eventually, just by luck, we'll run into one.
Okay.
So, Kaitlin, we're heading towards the giant squid-shaped superstructure.
Okay. All right. And
you work on.
And you see that these oh, and by the way, because you're not reacting and telling me places that you want to go and what you want to do with these buildings. So I feel like I'm pushing you in directions.
Well, I wanted to look for written material like a library or maybe a city hall with some documents. But first of all, everything's on computers. And second of all, even if they're not on computers, everything's been stripped away. So you're not going to find stuff like that.
Okay, well, you're making that last thing was a conclusion, not actually evidence.
Oh, okay, well, the conclusion was made because it seems like that's what it's like so far. As we were saying, eventually, if we keep looking, we'll find something that somebody left behind.
Right.
That may take a while.
Well, you have, like I said, you went in and into someone's apartment and you found up on top of what looked like a fireplace ledge. There were like spots for like 10 containers. Yeah.
There was.
You don't know what those containers.
I mean, we could. Let's maybe we should try maybe 4 or 5 apartments just to check. I mean, it's chances may be low, but you never know.
Chances are low.
I assume we didn't just walk in. Okay,
and
so
I wanted to also, as I said, find like a library or a city hall. If the library has, thousands of books, there's a good chance somebody may have left one behind.
Okay. All right. So you're looking around, for things like that. Okay. You guys get over to that big sprawling complex you saw. Okay.
Yeah.
And it basically has, Blessed Savior Recycling Center. And
that giant thing is a recycling
it's
center?
a recycling center.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
Maybe we can find recycling bins with stuff still left in them.
And they have signs. They also have signs that say, the most right holy nuclear reactor. Okay.
Wait a minute. What?
It says the most right holy nuclear reactor.
Okay, let's check our Geiger counters because we don't want to be walking into a dangerous radioactive zone.
All praise be to the reactor.
Yes. Yes.
Check our Geiger counters. Also check the radio again.
Ken, why don't you have your character do that?
Okay, I will. I mean, I was thinking more of the science people would, but sure, I can check it. So I'll check a Geiger counter.
Okay.
In my environment suit, there's got to be one. So.
Well, currently you're receiving no radiation inside the vehicle in your environmental suit.
Okay. Can we like crack open a door and like stick a Geiger counter out the window or out the door?
Or that's what you want to do.
Maybe you could check the monitor that's built into the truck that would.
Oh, there is one. Okay, I'll look at that then. I look at that.
Okay. There doesn't seem to be any radioactivity.
Okay.
All right.
Most reactors don't put off radiation unless they're broken.
Or unless they've been left unattended for hundreds of years.
Yeah, they can be turned off. So what else do we see interesting at the recycling center? Is there anything that talks? I mean, you said to this direction to the reactor. Do we see anything about what they're recycling? Is it broken down into what goes where? If there's.
Okay. This is something you're going to have to spend some time doing. Actually, just going around, seeing signage, things like that. Okay. Like I said, as far as you can tell, looking at the signage, they seem to be recycling everything.
Wow.
I mean, there's recycling glass, they're recycling wood pulp, they're recycling plastics, they're recycling metal. They're recycling, and metal is broken down to ferrous, non-ferrous, and then they have and then say to the east, and they're not just breaking it down. They seem to be like producing something that could then be used in production.
So they're recycling it, processing it into base materials that can be used for other materials. Is there actually manufacturing as well here that they actually produce finished items?
It doesn't look like that. It looks like what they're doing is they're breaking stuff down and then they're sending it over to the nuclear reactor.
Now, if we're in a closed-in, city where the sky is really the inside of the dome.
It's not. From what I could tell, it's not, because I went up 6 kilometers and that would be a dome of such epic proportions that would be unrealistic.
Because what I was thinking was that would explain why you got so much recycling, because the closed space, they can't take in stuff from the outside.
Or they had such a massive population that's what they needed to do with their garbage, because otherwise, I mean, look at the amount of garbage that we produce as human beings currently. I think this recycling center is some of the technology that Earth is looking for, because let's face it, we recycle, but we barely recycle anything.
Right.
It's a lot
Okay.
worse in the U.S. than it is in Poland. Let me tell you.
Right.
Well, I know that my state where I live now, currently, out of character, they only recycle aluminum, cardboard, and glass. That's it.
Oh,
And
wow.
they barely recycle glass.
They probably recycle metal besides aluminum.
Well, yeah, but I mean, for your like bin that you throw stuff in that sits outside your house, they
Yeah.
only want cardboard and aluminum in it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They don't
So
want anything else.
is the nuclear reactor on site?
It's like
It's
adjacent. It's like part of the complex.
So, is there what looks to be a central office, or is there anything that indicates an office space, or do we think that's at the? I mean, or would that? From what we can see, is there a control center, or do we
There
gather from
has
what
to
we
be,
see
but
that
it would take an effort to find it, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm just wondering if it
All
would
right.
be more likely to be towards the reactor or if it would be here.
That's hard to say. I mean, don't know how to answer that question.
I'm gonna. Well, let's get out here at the recycling center
Okay.
and, look at what the setup's like. We'll just go into it and see where the collection area is and kind of follow that to where it goes to processing and see if there's anything that jumps out at us.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
All right. You find it's a maze of conveyors and what looks like there might have been like cameras or things like that. Giant electromagnets and other types of things that are they're like big, not centrifuges, but like things that tumble stuff, separating them out by weight and other things like that. But then, they're also labeled as like plastic or paper. So there's some predeterminations of some of these things, so that they're not like trying to extract the paper from the metal.
Mhm.
That looks like that happens before. Like there's you get the feeling that one of the biggest industries in this entire area, besides is processing waste.
I wonder if that was the major job of most of these citizens was recycling their own stuff.
It could be, yeah. I mean, and taking care of each other.
Right.
Another, this could have been a hub where they bring everything to be recycled too.
Right, but I'm saying is that what you're seeing here looks like it's been pre-sorted. So
All right.
remember when you were in the hospital? Well, you were gone, but when they were in the hospital, they saw lots and lots of recycling bins. They were clearly labeled glass and aluminum and metal and plastic and
It was
other
California.
things like that. Garbage and garbage.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
but they were all empty. Well, they weren't they weren't necessarily clean, but I'm just saying is that they were clearly empty. There wasn't anything in them. So, anyway, so they, so this, like I said, this recycling center looks really huge, and as you follow it around, like I said, this is taking hours to do this. You see that they like the paper goes in the vats, and the plastic gets chemicals applied to it. I mean, it looks like there's like vats with sprayers on them, and there's pipes going to various things, and like
grind it all up and turn it
some
into
of
pellets.
it, yeah. I mean, there's obviously machinery designed to render this stuff down to a relatively small amount. Okay, and then you see them basically going into like box cars, and then those box cars are being sent over to the nuclear reactor.
Okay, so how you say this takes hours for us to do this?
Well, yeah, because it's a big place.
I get that, but what's our oxygen time frame that we have to go back and change and add air.
Well, what I mentioned before is that I mean, there is air. I mean, it's just lower. You can run. You can refill your tanks. Okay. And
Okay, we're just
you can
supplementing essentially.
Yeah, you can
All right.
you can concentrate the oxygen in the air and put it into tanks. I mean, you can it's I don't think you're able to extract pure oxygen from
Right.
the air. Okay, but you can certainly enrich it and put it into big air tanks and stuff.
Okay.
And
I
you
just
knew
wasn't
that
sure if we were
coming
gonna-
in here that the
Yeah.
air quality was low. I mean,
Right. And we had
it's the
talked
same-
about getting concentrators. I just wasn't sure
Yeah.
if we had like a
It's-
time frame that we were allowed to, that we needed to be aware of for.
Well, I mean, essentially, you have you have scrubbers in your suits, and you can carry, like when you walk around outside, you can carry 2 hours of oxygen.
Self-contained, yeah.
Yeah, self-contained. Okay. There are devices that with battery packs that you carry that will enhance the air that's outside, depending upon how much you trust it at this point in this world. So, yeah, you can do all that, and you can feed
Okay.
that into your air filtration system in your suits, so that whatever the air is coming in that you normally would filter and use in your suit has been enhanced, oxygenated.
Okay.
So, I'm just saying it's a bother, but it's not something that you feel like you're going to suddenly run out of oxygen anytime.
Right. We're not constantly going, okay, what's my levels at?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Which is good.
this is something. Yeah, I mean, this is something that you're basically going to have to deal with every couple of hours. So yeah, you're not going to be, unless you
All right.
I mean, you can carry these tanks, some of these bigger tanks on a carrier, wheeled carrier with you guys, as you go through these places. But yeah, it's going up and down stairs is going to be a problem, because elevators are not working for you because there's no electricity in operation. So there's plenty of wires in this place. Okay. By the way, none of you guys have asked, but the wires appear to be made out of aluminum, not copper.
Okay,
That's interesting.
that is interesting.
Not the best conductor, but a conductor.
The
Yeah.
Skyfall world would not be amused.
No. Well, I mean, the reason why we use copper is because it's just an inexpensive and extremely effective conductor. The only better
Yeah.
conductor is gold.
Right.
So,
Silver.
Maybe
no.
maybe copper's too dear to use it for that purpose, especially in sizes this large.
right. Well, and I believe that power transmission lines are not copper; they're aluminum. So,
Exactly.
they're big, thick, heavy aluminum. But
And that's exactly what you're seeing, big, thick, heavy.
Okay.
aluminum. Right.
huh?
Okay. So you guys, is there any
Hobo
more
would go to
questions?
town on here.
Do you have any
Mhm.
questions about this recycling place that I need to answer?
Nope.
Do we find a central control facility of any sort?
You certainly find one for this place, yeah, for the recycling center. There's yeah.
Let's inspect it and see if there's anything that we can glean from it.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
All right. It looks like a lot of machinery, I mean, a lot of cabinets and display things have been removed from the control room here, because it's obviously been decommissioned.
Right.
But still plenty of stuff, in the, there's still like lights and like illumination type things, and a lot
But
of
they're not on.
They're not on. No, there's nothing on. There's no electricity being used.
So it's like this has been mothballed more than
Yeah. It looks very much like
decommissioned.
Yeah. Okay. And so it's anyways, and outside of this facility, by the way, is a very large train setup. Like you were talking about, is there any place where all these cable cars or whatever like that go to? Here.
Yeah.
This is one of those
Oh.
places. I mean, we're
Wow.
talking about thousands of streetcars We're talking about even larger, like
So they're all here.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I mean, this place seemed to go on forever, so there might be other places like this. This is just one,
Mhm.
but it seems like, yeah, this is a central place where things come to.
Might
Okay.
there be a map here?
Is there? Yeah. Are there any like
Probably.
you are here things on the
Yeah,
wall?
yeah.
You
Or?
are here.
There should be, yeah.
Sure.
Not that you are here again.
Yeah, it's
Well, no. I mean, have you not ever been in like a factory or something like that? They have those things for, in case of fire, go this direction.
Oh,
You are
no.
here. And it's got a map of the building and stuff like that.
Every factory I worked in.
Yeah, but I was thinking more a map of the train system.
Oh, after the train system. I would
Like,
say
to go to
I would say
Cockbuster
probably
Station, take the
not. I
blue
would
line?
say but there's certainly they have labels for the various routes, as I was mentioning before.
Okay.
The things that are, if there are things that are coming out of actually everything here seems to be coming down to it. Okay. And then there's the big train system taking stuff over to the nuclear power plant. Okay, there might be another train system over there too that might all connect together with backwards and forward. Beehive of tracks and things like that.
Or anything which says like, public library route.
No, there's nothing. Like I told you, they had colors and they had numbers. And and unfortunately, most of that information that you're looking for, Ken, it would be in computer records or it'd be on paper that doesn't seem to be here.
Yeah.
So my experience with the London Tube system, you had to know what station you were going to find certain things. Like they gave you, I mean, you knew which stations they were, but you didn't know what was around the station, like whether or not the London Museum was there, or this route ends at St. Pancras Station. Okay, what does that mean? Well, that means that's where Big Ben and all that other crap is. So it's kind of it's more of a you have to know. It wasn't, and they're a touristy city, so I kind of get the impression that this wasn't a tourist draw essentially.
No,
With the Mariana Trenches.
Except for the museum place.
I'm sorry, what?
No, I was saying except for the museum place, maybe tourists go there.
Possibly, but
Maybe.
I haven't seen, like, other than the museum, I haven't seen anything that would draw a tourist or someone that wanted, like Paris. You go to Paris to see all the different things. You don't go there to hang out in the apartment complexes.
Yeah, the
Or
only thing that you've
working
seen that was really touristy was that big open air museum.
Yeah.
Everything else has been pretty much like the middle of, super urbanized. Like I said, it strikes you as being an awful lot like Mega City 1.
I'm not sure what Mega City 1 is.
It's a Judge Dredd reference.
Okay, yeah. I get you.
With big giant blocks with
Right.
And roadway, except that
150
they had all
floors
these
up and
giant roadways and stuff like that. This place seems to have these very narrow arteries that probably had streetcars going up in separated by 20 feet at a time.
right.
So
All going different locations.
Maybe and some of them may never stop. They might literally just be rolling along. You just get onto it like a people mover, like they used to have down at Disney World. Actually, they still do a little bit of that. All right. So, and are you guys going to go over to the big train, the incoming train area?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Give me a investigation check.
Hold on.
Actually, don't even bother. It's pointless. Okay, you go down there and you spend time, looking at things, trying to suss out whatever. Okay. You see, you do see things like, what looks to be like fire hydrants and things like that, but then you see that some of the train routes actually go further down, this is right on the edge of what looks like a big drop off, what might have been a lake at one time, except the lake is dry. All right. And these things seem to fall along the edge of it, like at one time that was important, and they don't really go down into them. Okay.
Interesting.
However, what does go down into it, okay, is there are some big railroad tracks that go down into the lake bed.
Can we see where do they stop in the lake bed, or do they just go through the lake bed?
They continue going down into the lake bed somewhere away from where you are.
Do we want to check that?
Yes, sounds good.
And we'll drive
Bruce,
down that.
do we have cards?
Bit late for
Yeah, you
that.
do.
Okay, I must have missed where they are.
I didn't
put
give
them
them
up
to you,
yet.
but I do have them.
Awesome.
All right, hold on. All right.
I say that we'll drive down into the lake bed then and take a look.
Well, it's not the Mariana Trench, but
No. Things are great in the Marianas Trench.
yeah, yeah. I've been
By the way,
trying.
for while it's been sitting on the dash of the Summers, does it eventually thaw out and we can see what's inside it?
What was this?
The snow
The Marianas
globe.
Trench snow globe.
Oh.
You said it was frozen, so I mean we left it on the dashboard of the Summers, so eventually it would thaw.
Yeah. It basically it's like it has this whole little gleaming, well, it's not, the paint's not so good anymore, but it's like this little metal model of this like city down in the trench, coming down on either side and going
Bloody
up.
fish.
Yeah. So, and then it says life is better in the trench. Yeah.
Can we just keep this in the Summers and just freak people out the next time?
I want to find it. I want to find the alien hula girl to put on the dashboard too.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. The alien girl with big bootay.
With big bouquet in the grass skirt that wobbles as you drive down the road.
Wow.
Some fuzzy dice. Okay. Well,
No, fuzzy dice is overkill.
We detour and go to why? I would totally have fuzzy dice.
All right. Okay. So it basically goes off the edge and it's on a trestle. And the trestle is made out of concrete, primarily out of concrete. Okay, and metal. It doesn't, it seems to have some kind of a plastic ties, whatever.
Okay.
It starts, and so you're, it's you're I'm just a little concerned about. So you're just going to drive along over the on the tie.
Well, so it's open as it goes through, which is kind of weird because I wouldn't think a train would be able to do that in the water. But
yeah, that's a good. No, it doesn't look like it could. I mean, so obviously this train trestle was built when it's dry.
So it's been dry for a long time. Okay.
Yeah.
The Summer's got 6 wheels, so I'm thinking it's going to be, a little bumpy, but no worse than going off road. So
Okay,
we can sit there and go down the road and go.
I hope that it doesn't collapse under you, right?
Well, if it held a train full of cars and it's concrete, it should be all right.
Hypothetically, he
I
says.
have no idea how long this thing has been here.
You're right.
All right.
Well, if we die, we die, right?
Okay.
New character.
Because
I
as you
choose
look
life.
back, on you can see that where you've driven over the ties, they've crumbled a bit. There's definitely an indentation for where your tires went over the ties.
Okay.
So anyways, you're heading on down. And basically it continues on down, and continues and continues and continues.
How deep was this lake?
Let me find out.
6 miles down.
Remember, this thing is designed. These train. This is a train car, so therefore it can't be too steep. Okay.
Right.
So either I have them circle, okay, and switch back, or it just slowly goes down. It's probably
is it going straight out to the lake, or is it going along the side of the lake?
I would say that, yeah, I'm just thinking from a logistics standpoint, it's probably going along it's coming from there and then going along the side, okay, and then continuing, but so it's basically dug into the side of the hill going down. So let me find out here a second.
I mean, we do have a rail line that used to go straight across the Great Salt Lake. It was built up on a dike and various bridges and stuff. So they had a train that would actually cut across the Great Salt Lake. So
how cool!
And that wood is really cool now because it's somewhat semi-petrified and soaked with the salt and minerals that from the lake. So
wow.
Okay, so yeah, it basically descends. The lowest point is 33 feet, so it's not too bad. It's not too bad. All right, so yeah, so you basically descend on down, and you basically are going along what appears to be like the bottom of the lake. You know, there's no, like I said, there's ice around you. There's ice on the track, but not much. You know,
right.
it seems to be very barren around. You see lots of rock, no vegetation. You know, there might be some. I mean, there might be some. No, it's just brown and blacks and things like that. You know, so anyways, it's so it travels along. So how long are you going to follow it?
Well, okay, so the track just drops down into the lake bed, and then it continues on
in a southwesterly direction.
Southwesterly direction. Okay.
Right.
What was the name of this place again?
The actual location.
It said something village.
You're
gonna make me get my notes.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, the major area nearby it is actually Veliki Novosgrad. My wife is laughing.
Veliki what?
Veliki Novgorod. VELIKYNOVGOROD.
Whatever you use to generate those names, I want to see it.
It's a real place.
It's a real
place. I think it's because Bruce and his wife went there.
Yeah, we did.
Well, that makes a lot of sense then.
And they've got an open air museum that has all those buildings we were talking about. Where do you think those pictures came from?
I saw the pictures and it had names. I figured it was his.
But anyway,
come on, guys, get on board. Yeah, fuck. Okay.
Yeah, so
when you go down to the lake, does the air pressure increase?
This is 30 feet, not much.
Oh, 30. Okay, that's probably not.
About as much as it does if you climb a tree.
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
Go up 3 stories. Does the air change much?
Oh, hurts feet like a rabbit.
No.
So it comes down, goes to the southwest, and just continues.
Well, I have to ask, I'm saying, how far are you going to go down this train?
I'm gonna follow it and just see where it goes.
So
I'm curious.
Okay, and
all right.
basically,
how many hours has it been since we got here?
It was originally 6 hours, but considering what you've been doing and stuff, I'm going to say that it's at least 12 hours now.
I just stopped the truck.
All right.
All right, let's set up the tents. I'm going to bed. I'm exhausted.
Okay.
Me too.
It really isn't. It won't be difficult for you guys to just basically leave this thing sitting up on the rail thing and
I'm imagining it's flush pretty much with the ground now.
Well, no, I mean, it looks like it was built. It doesn't look like they put a lot of effort into like bulldozing it. I mean, they just, basically poured concrete up to keep it going. They basically have this. You're up on this up on this embankment, basically this concrete embankment with the railroad,
Okay.
and it's just traveling along. I mean, it's as flat as it needs to be.
It's a rised up spot where the tracks run, basically.
Right. Yeah, it's just a little lift.
Yeah, let's leave the truck. We'll pull the
Yeah.
IDET tents out.
You ever seen a refinery and the retaining walls that are around big? Not like that, just over the ground.
Do you want to set up some sort of perimeter alarm?
No.
All righty.
I would say
haven't.
yes.
Okay,
Because
Ken's going to set up the perimeter. We haven't seen a living thing since we got here.
Right.
That is
and we've made plenty of noise and driven around, and I'll land the drone because it's only got a 10-hour lifespan. So we'll land it and hook it up to the generator, and set up the IDET tents. Those are like quick setups, aren't they?
Yeah,
They're CO2. Yeah.
Yeah, we just pop up the tents,
pop open,
and they have an airlock on them, so we can
so you can keep the air inside nice and rich.
And
sounds
how
good.
many tents are we going to set up? There's a whole 4 of us. I mean, do we need more than one tent at this point?
Probably not.
No, it's up to Angel.
Angel, what do you want to do?
Unless she wants to sleep by herself.
I could always sleep in the summers if that's what
That's true. You can sleep in the cab of the truck for that matter. So
I choose the truck. So have fun.
Okay.
All right. Well, come on, guys. It's the bachelor pad then.
Here we go.
We'll have cots and sleeping bags and pillows, and Angel can have a gear shift.
What is exactly the perimeter security that I need to do, assuming I set it up?
Well, you'd have to drive stakes into the ground and run wires and set up cameras and sensors and
all sorts of good stuff.
I mean, it'll take you about an hour or 2. It's usually done by all of us, so it takes about an hour, maybe 30 minutes for everybody, if everybody helped.
If you need the help, just say so.
Yeah,
I think it's unnecessary. I'm not sure what's going to sneak up on us at this point. And if something does, yay, excitement. We actually meet somebody.
All right. All right. Okay.
I mean, realistically, we could set up a motion sensor or run motion sensors off of the truck, and that'll tell us if anything's coming.
Hello.
Yeah, that's true. It may be overkill to do the whole deal, but we should do something.
All right.
So motion sensors at least then?
Sure. I'd go out and stick a couple of them into the ground and call it good.
There.
I mean, we can just have the truck monitor it, and that way if it goes off, it'll wake up Kaitlin.
Yes. Agreed.
We'll attach an electrode to her toe or something like that. So
yes.
She wouldn't hear it, but zap!
That's one way to wake her up, I guess. Don't know what I did to you, but okay.
But that's how we'll get her up in the morning is we'll all wake up and then we'll walk over and set off the motion sensor.
Oh, hey, all right, cool.
Okay, so we camp out.
It's getting better and better here.
Eat
strong
some food.
Vibrations work too, you know.
Well, what you do in your personal time is up to you.
No, what
You are all alone, so
I set myself up for that.
Open the door, you walked right through. So yeah, I will cook us a meal, or at least, you know what? Tonight I'm too tired. Just eat a bag of something.
Yeah. Pop open an MRE.
boil some water and just pour it into, one of those.
Here's some water.
Stride.
Use your immersion heaters and cook something in your MRE bag.
Sounds good.
It's that kind of night. My eyes are so dry that it feels like sand when I close them at this point.
All right.
Okay.
Go sack mode.
Yep.
Okay.
Sack mode out.
Okay.
I'm a light sleeper. I'll hear somebody bump into some.
How long are you gonna sleep?
Till I wake up.
Yeah.
Which, at my character's age will probably be sometime around 4 in the morning at least once.
I am older than you, Jason.
Well, my character, yeah, that's true. So Mike will be up every couple hours.
Yeah, drain the main. Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Mike,
Yes.
you wake up, and everybody else in the cabin is asleep.
All right. Okay.
And you find yourself awake and somewhat concerned because it's just seems really odd. I mean, just you wake up and you're done. You're awake.
Oh, okay.
You're not like alarmed, but it's more like you just can't seem to,
Done sleeping.
yeah, you're done sleeping. The other two
Okay.
guys are just still snoring away.
All right. Okay. Well, I'll put my jacket. I'll put my jacket.
Your environmental suit.
I'll put my suit back on and head out and look about.
Okay. Gonna water a rock.
Yeah, let's do that. That's always fun.
It's so cold.
Freezes as it freezes. before it
Actually,
hits
the
rock.
temperature isn't any different than it was during the day.
Or night, because we don't know what time of day it is.
Yeah,
So,
we can't tell
What I'm
whether
saying
it's.
is that it's assuming that it's been let's see, how long has it been? It's been 5 hours since you went to sleep. So it's still within 24 hours of the first day you came here. So you're now at
17 hours.
17 hours.
All right.
The temperature hasn't really changed at all.
Hmm. Why do we always get the weird ones? All right. Okay.
Okay. You can hear the sound of the Summers ATV.
Running.
The generator and the
Probably
summer.
kicking on the generator every so often. Not the generator, but probably the engine, kicking the engine every so often.
All right. I'll look
which
through the
means-
window, make sure Angel's okay.
Okay, Angel is in there, still asleep.
Okay. Good.
Angel, you wake up, there's a face looking at you.
Cuddled up to something. I don't know what.
The straight.
It's a stitch
Right,
doll.
Okay. That's
It-
okay.
it's
that
Actually, it
works
is a
out
stuffy.
okay.
stitch doll.
It's a stitch stuffy that she brings along with her.
There you go.
It's a
All
stitch
right.
stuffy.
Okay. Well.
I have
Ah.
Can't go a Viking without the pillow.
I guess I'll go to my backpack, get out my little light, and catch up on some reading. I guess if I can't go back to sleep, might as well get something done.
Okay.
How to operate a hand grenade?
Which one of you guys has? Does one of you guys have the lost card?
A what?
The lost card?
I
No.
have
Oh, I don't
new
know.
toy, so I've been waiting to use that. I'm going
Okay.
to use that one.
I did not look at the cards, so let me look.
I have
Yes,
lost
that would
card.
be Caitlin.
Okay.
Love interest. Hey, Caitlin. All right, cool.
Oh,
Not happening.
Bam, bam, bam. No, it's only when you meet someone for the first time, basically. Bam, bam, bam.
Do we need a
So
clue?
who has the lost card here? It's.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lost card.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see it.
All right. So you go back and do some reading. Okay.
All right.
And then
That's good.
let's see who wakes up next. That would be you, Jason.
Sounds right. All right. How many hours have gone by? Do I look at my watch?
It has been a total of 9 hours.
Nice.
You just
Wow. I
you
normally
just-
never sleep that long.
You just go to the truck and you see Angels cuddle up to a stitch.
Well,
yeah,
the first thing I do is boil water so I can make coffee.
Yeah, you see Mike sitting there reading.
What are you doing up so early?
Couldn't sleep. Done sleeping.
I hate that.
I would be playing World of Warcraft, but there's no internet connection here.
Ah,
Mm.
You could always play the Warcraft, battle,
Scandal.
the battle chest.
That is true.
That was before they went online.
Yeah, I could do that as well, but no, I decided not to.
What are you
Just
reading?
reading the biography of the late Donald Trump.
Oh, that's a real. That should have put you to sleep an hour ago.
Oh, it's called Lucky Loser. They're fascinating.
Yes.
Now I really want
Real
to see
life,
that
that's on Chuck's reading list.
Well, it's been 9 hours since we went to sleep. Chen Wei, get up.
Sure has.
What? Wake up, look around for a watch, check my.
I think it's interesting that Chen Wei is a martial artist, but you guys never worry about waking him up. Like,
No, I just yelled.
Suddenly go into combat mode.
They probably don't want to be, pushing me to wake me up.
Nope. The way we did it in the army was we'd kick people in the feet.
Yes, you pull on someone's foot. That's what we did.
I would just kick them in the foot.
Martial artists can use their feet.
Yeah, well, usually because
but they can't elongate their legs.
But in the army we used to sleep with our rifles, so.
That
was your girlfriend. You slept with your rifle.
Yeah, someone tries to come at you, butt
stroke, shoot, whatever.
Okay. Anyway, I wake up. I guess like nothing's gone past the motion sensors.
Well, it never went off. So
actually, they never went off. But you've got some weird readings on the motion.
Really?
Sensors. Yeah.
What are they?
My toe, Jason.
What do the readings show? That's weird.
It's like they picked up some kind of a weird signal.
So like not something morphing over them, but like a radio signal.
Yeah, kind of like a radio signal.
I wake up Kaitlin by just boom, 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 boom on the side on the door.
I turn on the computer and have it look for radio signals.
Okay.
Because you have to remember the summer sits up quite a bit up. So
there are no radio signals in the air. Okay, so it's coming off as something else.
So because the motion sensors are in the ground. So.
Yes, there's a radio signal in the air. Okay, I take it back. There is a radio signal. It's a very weak radio signal.
Let me get my frequency.
Since you said the motion sensors, can we check the ground? Can signals go through the ground?
It's called ultra low frequency. Yes, we use it.
Okay.
Currently,
let's see if we can
communicated into the ocean with it for about.
See if we can find them.
Years.
Okay. All right. When you check around, you find that the signal seems to be coming from the rail itself. Like the rail is like some kind of antenna.
Really?
That makes sense.
Okay. I look at a screen with a signal. I have no idea what it is. The computer say anything? Is it maybe some kind of a signal can be decoded into a voice, or
does it give us like a wave?
Oh yeah.
What kind of wave it is? Is it a really wide wave? Is it a
it's a really wide wave.
It's an ultra low frequency, and that could very well be the power transmitting through it, or like not necessarily power, but what's the word I'm looking for? Well, it's actually called a signal wave, but it's like a signal current that goes through, just like when you check continuity on something.
Yeah.
Yes,
so
that's correct.
It's clear that, let's see, what would it be? Would it be free? Would it be, see, I don't know enough about radio and stuff.
Where's John when we need him, right?
Something like an ultra low frequency, would it be amplitude changing, or would it be frequency changing?
Well, you could do it either way, but because the frequency is so low, the changes in frequency would be probably too minute to detect. You'd probably use
300 hertz to 3 kilohertz, corresponding to wavelengths between 1,000 and 100 kilometers.
Mm.
So
I thought ELF was like
it's
20
a huge. It's a huge wave, basically. It's,
Yes, very, very long wavelength.
Right, but it's being transmitted by the metal of the rail track.
So it could
Okay,
be ELF, which is extremely low frequency, which is
yes.
3 to 30 hertz and travels between 100,000 and 10,000 kilometers.
See, that's what I'm thinking here. Okay. All right, I'll use my frequency scanner to check the wave for amplitude or frequency modulation and decipher it and see what we get.
Okay.
Test.
All right.
Test.
Okay. Would something like that be able to carry a voice?
It can.
It could, sure.
Okay. All right.
It would just take a while to decipher it because your frequency is so low.
Okay. All right. Well, you do that. Give me a give me a science check.
All right, let's see here. Did I use? Where's Mike? There's Mike.
Yeah, ultra high, ultra low, or extremely low frequency could travel.
Okay.
Around the curvature of the Earth.
D66, somebody.
What?
Somebody rolled me 2d6.
Okay, hold on.
All right.
Give me half a shake of a land stale.
Yeah, my desk is rather full at the moment.
You got 2s.
I'll Benny that.
You got a 6 and a 1.
Okay, very good.
And the 6 rolls a 1, so you have a 7 now.
7. All right, very good.
All right. So basically, it's hard to do because you weren't expecting to have to do it.
Sure.
But 2.5 hours later, you manage to basically get something refined enough that you can actually begin to hear a voice, and you hear a woman's voice saying, "This is the voice of Free State David." He says, "We exist in separation from the holy city Alpha, and we will never give up our freedom." He says, "If you can hear this voice, if you can hear my voice, then know that you do not have to submit to the Central Council and their edicts, that there is a place that you can go. And if you wish to come here," he says, "we will give you coordinates and pick you up if you once you get there." He says, this frequency changes daily, and therefore it doesn't do them any good hearing this, and we will and here are the longitude and latitude that you need to get to. So if you can join us, please please join us, and we will be glad to add you to our numbers. He says,
does it repeat?
yes, it does.
It could be like a honeypot or something, like they're just trying to find rebels. It's not really, might not really be real.
It took me 2 hours to receive that message, Chen.
It might seem a little bit strange and unrealistic, but that's what they said.
Well, it's certainly signs of human habitation and civilization and people still being alive.
And that's what we're looking for.
Well,
maybe we can send a drone to the coordinates just to see what's there.
What's the
so if like they have an army,
put it at?
All right, I show them the longitude and latitude that they sent.
I'm gonna type it into the computer for Earth and see what we come up with.
Good point.
Okay. It comes up as Copenhagen.
Oh, I've been to Copenhagen in a couple of years. Nice place.
But we wouldn't know how to get there anyway because we don't know what our current longitude and latitude are.
Yeah, we do. We have a good idea.
We know underground.
Maybe.
Veliki
How would
Novgorod is east of Estonia. You drop down through
How would we know what our
Latvia,
current?
Lithuania.
Across
How would we know what our
Poland,
current
If
longitude and
Germany,
latitude
and then
are?
up to Denmark.
If this is an alternate Earth, I mean, it's got the same name of a city that's on Earth, and it has a big fucking lake, just like that city does.
Hmm.
Okay,
When
so
I
that-
launch the drone, I will map out the perimeter of the lake, and we'll see if it compares to what we have on Earth as far as size.
So
I mean,
if we're in Russia, Copenhagen is pretty far away.
Oh,
you
it's
want
not
So I
that
mean,
bad.
we might be able to
distances?
get there, but not easily.
It's not that bad.
Copenhagen. Hold on.
I've taken a bus from Warsaw to Moscow. It's not that bad.
Well, the biggest problem is there's water in between.
Yes.
But didn't they say that you respond to them and they'll give you coordinates? So the Copenhagen coordinates are not coordinates for us; they're coordinates for whoever else use this.
That's the
Oh.
coordinates they sent people to get picked up, right?
Could be, yes. Meet
Okay,
at
I
these
misunderstood.
coordinates and we'll bring you in. Yeah.
Sounds like a cult.
Now,
Yeah.
just because the Earth maps show that you have to cross water to get to Copenhagen doesn't mean you do, because the river
Well,
was
no, you can
gone,
actually-
the lake is gone, so
If
there's no water.
if there's bridges, we can get there.
Yes.
The biggest trick will be Denmark, because I mean it's barely above sea level. So
But as I
Agreed.
said, all
it's
the
a
water
25-hour. According to this, it's 25 hours, and that's
All
if
right.
you have a highway.
all the water is
Oh.
drained, so it might
We
not.
can't say that. We've seen some water drained.
If this land is a lot colder than our own, the seas may have shrunk slightly.
Now we found a radio transmission through the ground,
Mhm.
and rather through the rails, but
Which would make sense because an
right,
ELF
but
would need a
I'm
huge
saying if
antenna.
there's one, could there be other ones? Maybe ones by the major government, so we have some idea of what this council and stuff is, and
Well, first of all, I would depend on whether or not this quote unquote government, this other whoever they're trying to be free of, broadcasts on an ELF through the tracks. So, I mean, this is the first sign of any kind of anything that we've seen other than this mothballed city.
right.
I still
But-
think we need to go to the reactor and see what's there.
Yes, definitely.
Did
We are in the
find
middle
it?
of the lake right now. No, well, we know where it was at.
All right.
We have to go. We have to get out of the lake.
All right.
But the reactor is right next to the recycling, right?
Right.
No, it's south of the recycling,
Oh,
No, it was east of the recycling.
east of the recycling.
There was there were some tracks that went southeast of the recycling center. But you guys didn't go there. You basically got on the other ones that went down into the lake and followed along the lake in a southeasterly direction.
Okay, Bruce, question.
Yeah.
How do we fuel the Summers?
The Summers is fueled with diesel.
Okay.
don't know
Do
what
we
your
have
tank-
enough
I mean,
diesel fuel on us to get where we want to go?
Yeah. I can tell you what the tankage is on it.
All right.
Okay.
I'll have to look it up.
Sure.
It's 25 hours, which is 2,088 kilometers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, via highway, but I mean, they could have a train track that runs pretty much in the line that the highway runs, which is damn near a straight line to the other side of the lake.
Okay, so I'm going to have to go.
Finland, Finland, Finland. It's where I want to be now.
All right, RPG.
Oh, we're going to go right through Poland.
Yes.
Warsaw.
Yes.
I'm saying I doubt you have the fuel to go that far.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Yeah,
That kind of travel we need to do with the bus.
No, you can do it. You're just going to have to go and get some tankage and pull along with you. I mean, the vehicle, the Summers ATV can carry more stuff. It just it's going to take a lot more fuel. If you want,
we know that the Mixer are nearby, so we can get fuel. I mean, that's not a huge thing.
That's true.
Yes, very good.
I'm just saying, and it's not that far to go back to the portal.
No.
From where you are right now.
Right. Or we can get a plane or something.
Or you could get a plane.
Or maybe
would you rather have a
does
plane?
magic work here?
Well,
nobody knows.
It did on the other portal.
But didn't we
this
have
is an alternate, so it should. There's no connection between that.
The two alternates?
Yeah, two alternates could be in completely different universes.
But doesn't somebody have like a magic item that you see if it works?
That was somebody who isn't here.
Okay.
Well, I think we would have lifted the pillar thing off of
here we go.
Ronan before he left, so
all right,
fireproof pillar.
Yeah, the normal amount of fuel in the Summers ATV is 110 gallons. It's got a range of 2475. But I'm saying you can carry more fuel.
2,475 miles?
Miles, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, you've got a cargo capacity of basically a little over 5 tons in this
Well,
vehicle.
if you think about it, those tanks that are on the side of semis are 75 gallons. So it's really not that much.
Yeah. So I'm just saying is that, you could add more tankage to this vehicle.
Pretty easily.
Put it back, put it into the cargo part of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just literally a water heater sized tank, essentially.
Yep.
Well, let's continue exploring this area before we think about traveling across the country at this point.
Yeah, let's try like some more
Bruce,
random, buildings and apartments.
Did you get the video that I sent you?
When?
It was during the week.
I'm not sure.
It was the one man flying thingy.
If I don't recall getting it. Was it on Skype or was it on?
I'm going to check right now to see if
Facebook
I sent it. I think it was Facebook because I saw that you were online at one point.
Okay, I can look real quick.
It's a one man flying. It runs off of four propeller type engines. So it's like
I think I did. Yes, I did see that. Yeah,
it was cool as shit.
It was very cool. It was very cool. My only response to seeing that is that, okay, how far can it go?
Oh, they're only like 30 minutes, I think is the most you can get out of it.
Yeah. So yeah, it was small enough that it was like a single flyer.
It was like the size of a motorcycle, but you could fly it around.
No, it was bigger than that. But let's say it was about the size of a Pacer.
Yeah. Oh, I don't even think it was that big.
But made out of carbon filament.
What the hell was it called now? I don't remember what it was called.
All right. But anyways, I said, yeah, if you want to go travel those kinds of distances, by the way, the Summers ATV does float.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
can't,
okay.
but depending upon how much fuel you're putting into it, it says the normal setup is the work version. It's basically a cargo hauling truck with a bed capacity of 8,750 pounds. Okay, there's also there's also a rescue version. There's also a medical EMR version.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have the cargo version.
Yeah, you have the cargo version. That's the normal one.
So, but we put the hard box on the back of it. So,
yeah,
instead of it being open bed.
Right. That's going to take some of that down. But anyways, like I said, if you want to add some more fuel carry, you just have to decide how much fuel you're going to carry.
Right.
Because
well, you need enough to get there and enough to get back with. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see here.
I'll have to share that to the group, though. That was a pretty neat little video of that flying thing. I use DuckDuckGo now, and it doesn't save any of my previous searches.
Yep. That's one fun thing about DuckDuckGo.
This is the right one, right? Yes. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, let me see.
Okay, that is 2,000 kilometers. Okay. 25 hours by somebody's evaluation. So you could theoretically drive it, depending upon the,
Well, we wouldn't have any fuel to get back with, so.
Well, you'd have to double that up. Yeah,
right.
At least.
Right.
I'd say you'd have to go, at least 200 and at least 200 gallons.
Right.
And probably a little more than that. That's not that impossible. I mean, my great aunt in her like Oldsmobile had a 40-gallon tank in it. You wouldn't have known it.
My Expedition's got a 33-gallon tank, so.
Yeah.
When gas was almost $5 a gallon, I dreaded filling that thing up.
Oh yeah, a lot of people did. I had a coworker who had one of those Expedition vehicles because she wanted to live out in the countryside, and then all of a sudden she was like, "I can't afford this job. I'm not getting paid enough to pay for the cost of the gas." So she quit. Wow. She literally quit and got herself another job closer to where she lived.
Yeah, I'm glad I don't have to commute because 13 miles to the gallon doesn't really cut it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've always preferred cars that got over miles to the gallon.
Well, I also use it to pull trailers and stuff like that. So.
Well, yeah, that's going to be less, sure. Okay, so you guys going to go back to Hatsumi Base then? I'm not Hatsumi Base. You're going to get back to the platform and maybe talk to the
Demixie.
Do we see anything down here in the base of the lake?
You see coming down the side of the lake more tracks joining onto this track.
Oh, okay.
So it looks like, this is like a major rail conduit that's going.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
We launched the drone. I will fly it around the perimeter of the lake.
Okay.
Does it match up with what I'm seeing on our version of Google Earth?
Pretty much. Yeah. There seems to be
slight differences.
There seems to be a whole lot of big industries ringing this lake. At least on the south, the northern western side. Yeah. So I mean that's where you are right now. So I don't know.
Mike,
yes.
Can you send a message on the ELF?
One would think so. Hypothetically. I could
just send hello. Would you like to talk?
Okay. That's not ominous at all.
All right.
Well,
okay.
you don't. I mean, they didn't give
Well,
us.
they said they would keep changing their frequency, right? So that you can't really talk back and forth because they don't want to be
Yes,
tracked down.
tomorrow's message will be on a different frequency. But
Okay, never mind then.
You still got time until tomorrow.
Yeah. Send a message. Send
all right.
something.
Hello, we want to talk. All right. It'll take a few minutes to send it.
That's fine. I mean, just we'll see if we get any kind of response. Is my thought.
Okay, simple amplitude modulation down the wire.
What are we going to say once we talk to them? I mean, you can't say, you know, what's the
Who
government
knows?
of this world like?
Why not? And then I would say let's go back to where the reactor is. Let's go back and check the reactor. I mean, we should continue to survey this area since it is right outside the portal, and then we'll make a decision if we hear back anything. We just know of a point of interest at this point, but that's not enough to go 2,000 kilometers away for. If we had the saucer or the flying bus, then I would say, okay, yeah, let's go.
Sure.
But we don't, so.
So you're sending a message, okay, along this thing. Do you have the ability to send those kinds of messages?
We should be able to.
I mean, we're talking about, you know, like 100-mile long waveforms. Do you have that kind of gear?
Well, if we could pick it up, we could send on it.
That's not necessarily true. I mean,
if we can dial in the frequency.
It takes nothing to pick up a radio, you know, like an AM radio band, but it takes a whole lot to send it out.
Well, that's just it with the ELF.
I can use what I've got in my spare parts to build an AM transmitter.
Well, we're talking.
It's not AM though.
It's a super low. We're talking about a super low frequency transmitter.
Well, may have to, you know. I could Chuck
super
could
low
do it in high school.
So
it's Mike should be able to do it. If we have to use tubes, we can use tubes. Plenty of them around here.
All right, so let's explore this a little bit.
All right.
It's 30 to 300 hertz, so anywhere in that range is going to be an SLF frequency. Russian subs transmitted at 82 hertz.
Mm-hmm.
Requirements for receivers at SLS frequencies are less stringent than transmitters because of the signal strength set by atmospheric noise. Is far above the noise floor of a receiver, so small inefficient antennas could be used. Radio amateurs have received signals in this range. Very simple receivers built around personal computers with coil or loop antennas. What does it take to broadcast with super low frequency? Let me look that up. I think it's interesting that the article doesn't even talk about broadcasting.
Because most people don't broadcast on those kinds of frequencies.
What is shortwave broadcast on?
Something a lot longer.
Well, apparently, you know, people are saying they've made magnetic coils wound around ferrite driven by a current source, and they were able to do this.
Yes.
So, all right. Then fine, you can do it.
All right.
I'm not trying to get in your way. I just want to know whether it's possible.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's funny. Extremely low frequency. Example uses: communication with submarines. Super low, communication with submarines. Ultra low, communication with submarines. Communication within mines. Landline telephony. Fax machines and fiber optic communication is all ULF.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But communicating with submarines is pretty much all the way up into VLF. AM is low frequency.
Yep.
Or medium frequency.
Yeah.
High
sure
frequency is citizens band radio, amateur radio, and over the horizon aviation communications, RFID. FM is very high frequency. TV is ultra high frequency. Radio astronomy is super high.
Okay. So you built yourself a transmitter powered by a decent generator on the summers, and you're gonna plug. I assume plug it into the to the same rail line that you guys have been traveling on.
Yep. Sounds good.
And you're going to go and send the message of we want to talk.
Yes. Hello. We would like to talk.
Okay. And you get no response currently. How long are you going to wait?
All right. Well, our message should take about 30 minutes for them to receive, and so with it, if they haven't said anything back in 2 hours, if we don't get anything aside from the automated thing, then I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shot. We're just taking a shot in the dark at this point.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we explore like a couple of apartments while we're waiting
Sure.
for this? I assume, or computers
Well,
are gonna.
My question is, will we have to monitor from here, or can we go anywhere and monitor the track?
Well, you could always have a push forward transmitter of some kind attached to the track and go do other things.
That's true. Be easy enough to do that. We have tons of radios.
Yep. Sure do.
It's just that any the big once it basically comes up into the city, I don't know what's going to happen to that signal. Is it going to get dispersed too much? Is it going to get too much signal interference by various other metallic things? I'm assuming that this rail, as long as it is aiding the transmission.
Right. It's using it as the antenna. So.
Yeah, antenna.
Right.
So, you know what? We can wait a couple hours here. I mean, we can make food. We can pack shit up. I mean, that's going to take us a little while anyway, and you're going to build the little thing anyhow. So, we can wait a couple hours. It's not going to kill us.
Okay.
We can whack some golf balls in the. Go out and do some practice drives or something. I don't know.
There you go.
All right. Are you guys going to, so in the intervening time, what are you guys doing?
I'll fly the drone around.
Okay.
And look at stuff and try to find points of interest within the city that we might want to go check out.
Right. Yeah, like I said, all the rivers that seem to go into it. There is a rail line that seems to follow the river that goes north from the lake, which you guys didn't notice because it was on the other side of the rail line. I'm sorry, of the nuclear power plant that you never went to. And then, say the other one basically goes down along the lake, and you don't know, I mean, I don't know how far you're going to fly around, but like I said, everything seems to kind of follow. It should be pretty clear to you guys at this point that, do you know what these things that are attached to the that overhead jungle gym that seems to go 300 feet above the city everywhere? Do you have any idea what those are?
It's the power grid.
What do you mean?
Rather than underground power lines, they have above ground power lines.
Okay.
Just way above ground.
What are those big square things?
Panels?
Hanging,
Lights?
Light panels.
Light panels is what I'm thinking.
So, yeah, me too.
So if there was power, do you think that they would be like illuminating the entire city area?
So it's quasi daylight.
Okay.
And they probably dim them at night and bring them back up during the day.
Sure.
Okay.
At least that's my guess.
It's your guess. You don't know. Yeah.
No,
So-
I'm not an engineer. We're going to go look at this nuclear power plant, and I'm going to go, yep, it's a nuclear power plant. That's about all I know about it.
Resident
Yep.
engineer points to Mike.
Right,
Yep,
but I
I
don't think
am an
he's a
engineer.
nuclear engineer that can fire up a reactor either, though.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, that's something I'm not. I'm not a nuclear engineer.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. When you're going around the city, you go to one of these, like, this thing that goes up 300 feet. Okay. You notice that it seems to have some kind of a it has what looks to be like a giant blower on it.
Lower?
Like yeah, like air. Like air
So
is being
artificial wind?
yeah, or something. I mean, it's attached at the bottom.
So
Have
it's
we
like
felt much
hanging
wind
off
here?
of the thing?
No, it's like it's like this thing is like one of those hollow trees, except it's not hollow. And basically it has these things that look like the big giant blades that in all the science fiction things where you got the big giant slowly spinning fan with the light behind it, like one of those things. Okay. And there seems to be one on either side of all these things, unless they're in the middle of something. And you don't know what they do, other than it looks like they push air some direction or something. Why? You don't know. I mean, maybe the air quality when all the people were here was really lousy, and they needed some ventilation.
So we've never experienced any wind while we're here then.
No, you haven't.
Interesting. Wow, this is like dead.
Dead
There's
air.
no weather here.
Doesn't seem to be, I mean, you haven't noticed any.
Oh, yeah, we have
So there's no weather, it's cold. I wonder if the planet's rotating. It would have to for there to be gravity, though, wouldn't there?
No. Gravity comes from mass, has nothing to do with rotation.
True.
okay.
I
It
wonder if
does
the
have a
planet stops
magnetic
spinning.
field, but that's generated by the planet's core.
Right.
Yeah, the planet's core could be rotating and the planet might not be rotating, but
It'd be the second time
eventually it would stop, but who knows?
Right.
This is our second planet that doesn't rotate.
Well, we didn't know that for sure on the other one, but
Well, it's my
It's a
assumption. And
possibility.
I'm sticking with it.
Right.
I mean, you can do a polar shift and things could be completely. I mean, if the pole shifted to east-west directions, then we would rotate this way, and only this portion, a certain portion, would ever get sunlight as it rotated or as it orbited.
However, north-south, I mean, you haven't moved. I mean, where the lake was and where Veliki Novus Grove was, it seemed to be in the right orientation for what it is on our planet. So north still seems to be north.
Okay.
All right.
Right.
There's no way to tell if we're actually rotating those. So.
Right. You don't know if you're orbiting a planet, a sun, or anything. You have no reference.
Instead of moon-based alpha, it's Earth-based alpha. We're just drifting through space here.
Big chunk of the planet floating along.
Could very well be.
You would also not have much atmosphere either, though.
All right.
That's
or
true.
any for that matter.
Okay. So after 4 hours, you get a message, and it says to unknown transmitter. This is not a secure line. He says, we cannot have a conversation that can be overheard by the central committee.
That's definitely Russian Central Committee. That's definitely
Yes,
a Russian
comrade.
reference.
Do you want to send?
But remember, the language that you guys are speaking is
Mishmash.
is Latin.
Pigeon Latin, though.
Yeah.
Akfe uye. eBay.
Not pig Latin.
I know, I was kidding.
Romane ite.
You want to respond to that?
What would you respond to that?
Copy that.
Barnaky, send.
I believe this
Received and understood.
over the cat.
I guess that's the only proper response. Received and understood. Okay. I'll transmit that back, Bruce.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I'll transmit back received and understood.
All right.
Okay.
It says we look forward to seeing you at the designated coordinates.
Yeah, not going to happen.
Maybe we could meet them and then just not go with them.
Well, I'm just saying.
You can't meet them without, going back to Hatsumi Base and getting a tank of gas.
Well,
You don't have to go to Hatsumi Base, but
The Demixi can provide us with gas and stuff.
diesel. Yeah.
Diesel. They can provide us with diesel.
They have plenty of diesel.
Oh, good stuff.
They
Yeah.
drink it like beer.
Oh.
They actually do.
Mike says, speaking of which,
you know, all that Trump says, all the drill. That's not the Mixie point of view.
Yeah.
Like what ecology? That's for weaklings.
I'm rich. I don't need ecology.
Yep. Well, speaking of a beer, Mike opens up a
Heineken?
Michelob. Mike
Michelob.
drinks Michelob.
That's weird.
He does too. Went to St. Louis to visit relatives. Got addicted. Better than European beer.
So what are you guys doing?
Beer,
Then?
anyway.
I said that you had 4
All right,
hours.
let's head to the Demixi world and get the necessary gas.
Well,
that
guys,
we need.
were we going to go to the... Are we going to continue to explore here, or are we just going to say, okay, fuck it, we're going to go 2,000 miles away?
I wanted to look at some apartments to see if people left stuff behind while we were waiting for the signal.
All right, okay. Well, Bruce, go ahead with Chenway with that then. He's
Okay.
been exploring apartments.
See if
All
we can
right.
find another Mariana's Trench snow globe.
He's probably just looking for more pens.
Okay. You go in. You find you go in a random building. You go up. The stairs. There are apartments starting. At the second level, maybe the third level, depending upon how much business is going on or whatever. And yeah, I mean they tend to be between 4 and 6 room apartments. Okay, so there's lots of markings on the floor, which is concrete. That looks like there was furniture here. There's tufts of material, like there were rugs. The walls show like as if they had like pictures and things like that. Very little stuff left behind. It's almost like they had a cleaning crew come through and empty out the apartments after the people took whatever they really needed. You'll find common bins out in the on the landings of each floor, labeled for the various recycling things, and might have a few items in there. I don't know. Let me see here. How much time you want to spend on this?
Well, it was like a couple hours, so let's say 2 hours.
Okay, so that's not helping me. All right. All right. So, okay. You find a pair of glasses. You find a pair of tongs. You find a wooden spoon, and it's like really hidden away, like behind a drawer, inside of let's see, where would it be? In a closet. And you find a bag of rubber bands.
All right.
Man, that'll be
Yay.
fun.
Well,
Oh, she's more rubber bands.
yeah, it gives us a very general idea of the tech level. We sort of had that already. Is there like a writing on the bag of bands, it says, made in India or something,
Um,
or Moscow department store?
it says on it, bag. It says bag of rubber bands, size 1 through 5, 200 units.
Okay.
Made made in plastic generator center, Veliki, Nova Scotia.
Okay. And I think that we didn't actually see anything that said plastic generator, and the closest is probably the recycling center, which didn't say that.
Right. It didn't say that, but doesn't mean there isn't one near. Doesn't mean there isn't one there.
Yeah, I'll show it to the party. I say maybe we can find this plastic, center and see what's there.
By
At
the
least
way,
it's
those
technology.
rubber bands are in terrible condition. I mean, you try stretching them and they just snap. They're dry.
Mm.
I mean,
They're old. They've been
a year can easily do that to rubber bands.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've got some that are about a year old that are worthless now. So
Yep.
Yeah. Now the prize object you found was the wooden spoon.
Mm.
Well,
You haven't
I'll look
seen
at it.
anything
Anything
made out
unusual
of
about
wood
it?
the entire time you've been here, outside of the trees in the park itself and those buildings. You haven't seen anything like that. It's like I mean,
What was the furniture made of?
well, I'm saying there's almost no furniture. Okay.
Right.
And the furniture you have found has been made out of something like
plastic.
plastic primarily, and very little of that. It's like I say, most large, even you find little bits of plastic, like bigger pieces of plastic have been broken down to smaller pieces. It's like, so it's mostly what you're finding, like I say, are empty rooms in things that look like they're apartments, but they're empty rooms. You find no one took the toilet. It looks like a fairly standard toilet. European toilet out of what's the bathroom. Okay. It's got like the water tank on the wall. The pipes seem like they're made out of cast iron. So I'm just saying, there's, but like, anything, things that are ceramic, things that are concrete, those things are remaining. They haven't taken any of that stuff. Okay. But anything that, like I said, looks like it could have been broken down and used at the recycling center, it's gone. Basically been, it's been.
So
Right.
I'll bring the spoon to the party, and I say, well, we found these rubber bands and the spoon and the stuff. Can you science guys find out anything about this spoon? It's not that unusual, except it's wood.
Hand me the spoon, Chenway.
I hand him the spoon.
Okay, this is not a wooden spoon. This is a party alignment tool. When someone get X up, and I hit him on the butt with the spoon.
I dodge. I mean,
Make your fighting check.
Okay. All right.
See if you can get. See if you can
Did I get the drop on him?
Yeah. See if you can get past his dodge.
Oh my God.
His defense.
Come on.
All right. Let's see here. Only a 5.
No, he easily dodges that.
Damn.
I laugh anyway though because it was funny.
He takes his chopsticks and deflects it.
Oh man.
Okay.
I
So
handed
now,
the
like,
spoon back. I was just
what can you
waiting to
find about that thing?
it's a wooden spoon. That's what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Is it
Um,
actually
I
wood, or
used
is it
for my
plastic? Looks
spaghetti
like
sauce
wood,
when
or
you like it.
Okay. It's okay. It appears to be shellacked. Okay, which is not normal for a spoon.
No,
So
not
it
at
makes you
all.
think that this might actually be some kind of part of what might have been part of an award of some kind. Somebody actually made an effort to preserve the wood rather than, using it for cooking or something like that.
Mm,
Or it could have just been one of those cheap salad bowl spoons.
could be.
Half wood, half plastic.
Ah.
And yes, still try to whack Chen away with it.
Uh-huh.
So for the rest of the adventure, Mike's constantly trying to hit him with the spoon.
Pretty much.
That spoon is gonna come with
okay,
us.
I take the spoon from him.
I give you the spoon.
No!
All
Chen
spoon.
Wei, when you were training to do your martial arts, did you ever fight over a piece of meat with chopsticks or something?
Yes. How did you know?
Did you ever fight on clay pots, like standing on clay pots?
We fought standing on sticks sometimes, not on clay pots.
I saw it in a Jackie Chan movie. That's why I was wondering.
Okay, Kung Fu Panda.
Well, they work really well in Jackie Chan movies because then you take your foot down, grab with your toes, and you toss it at the other guy. It's a big explosion.
Oh, sure, yeah, absolutely.
Those metal sticks don't come out of the ground easily.
Well, that's why I was wondering, because it's like Chen Wei seems to be kind of like Jackie Chan, so
Yeah.
minus the wires.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so all right, so like I said, you basically you find a few things after searching for hours. It's like they went through this place like a vacuum. They tried really hard to find everything. As a matter of fact, I mean, the rooms are they're surprisingly clean. I mean, you would think these rooms would be dustier than they are. So it's possible they literally used a vacuum cleaner in this place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they came through with an evidence vacuum cleaner, and there's not even DNA to find.
Yeah.
Well, there might be fingerprints if you check for those.
Sure. I find
That's only useful if you have a fingerprint database, though.
Oh, that's true
No,
too.
but
Yeah.
it shows. Apes have different fingerprints than humans. No, you did see some pictures of some people that were doctors. They look like human beings. So that's. But what was I saying? I'm just saying, it's everything that I've mentioned about this whole thing about recycling and nothing going to waste. This whole society seems extremely streamlined and regimented and things like that. Everything that you're seeing is basically saying cookie cutter.
Right.
You're not seeing hardly any individualism at all in this society.
It's like a
Except for the
theocratic
rebels.
It's like a theocratic version of like Orwell's 1984 almost.
I would not disagree.
And the computers are centralized.
Yeah, no one has books. Nobody has, or if it is, it's gone with them. Everything gets recycled, so there's no permanence to anything. No. So yeah, it's real good way of having your ministry of truth if there's nothing left to
question, yeah.
To question the past.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Which is kind of weird to me because they had the wooden buildings in the park as a historical attraction. So that
maybe something happened about that time.
Did it have any dates on the buildings?
No, but I kept telling you that there were these like big, display things that had information about each of the buildings and such.
Yeah, I thought we read those.
No, you didn't. I kept asking you you might have said, yeah, we looked at it, but then you didn't ask me any questions about it, so I never told you anything about it.
Okay, all
All
right.
right.
Well,
Well,
what did they say if we
I
took
said
any
that the
pictures?
buildings were between 1400 and 1600.
that's right. I
Okay.
remember that part.
All right. And I told you that, and there was a Eastern Orthodox church.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
And the marriage cabin.
Right,
What
the
happened
marriage
between-
the marriage cabin, right? And there was a thing talking about how in those days, when you build a house, you always let a cat uh, uh,
Go through the house first.
you let a cat go in first, and then you go and check about an hour later, and wherever the cat had settled down to sleep, that's where you put the bed, because that was the warmest place in the house.
Is there anything with like, compared to our houses of today, which are located, in the so-and-so sector of so-and-so country ruled by so-and-so?
Yeah. What they do say is it says these are the only remaining independent structures, that have been preserved in this park.
Mhm.
Okay, so would have been a clue to say, hey, you came and you saw these buildings and how everything's connected to each other in this big network of stuff, that
Okay.
that's the but there's also a lot of information about, when they talked about, one of the big things they talked about was the fact is that these various symbols fell into disuse after the unification, of the Christian faith. And in the 16th century, and that so the I don't know what else to say about that. Because they're talking about the buildings themselves. They talk about how the work, what the various symbols mean. In the Eastern Orthodox religion. And other things like that. So there's that the tree that trees were harvested, grown, harvested, and cut into planks and used to make these buildings. He says, unlike our modern techniques of basically concrete, steel, and extruded plastic structures.
Lincoln logs, Legos, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So he says it's which are, I mean, they're not. It's not an advertisement for their modern society. They're talking about the old days. They said a single house could take an entire village of people to build a single house, and people, and houses tended to be small, much like due to the difficulty of maintaining a large structure.
Right.
And don't forget to stop by our snack bar and the gift shop.
Yes, there's definitely that.
Does it say that?
They'll say things as like, there are reproductions available in our and photos, digital and digital copies of these buildings that can be taken with you when you return, when you leave.
Yes, souvenirs.
So yeah, so there are some things, and they basically plastic reconstructions, and digital digital visual recreations.
Right.
It says,
Okay.
They did have that rather interesting swing that was for the kids.
Yeah, weird.
That was made out of wood. And So, and like I said, there were trees around her, and the more you think about it, is probably the trees that were growing there specifically for the purposes of having wood to use to basically maintain these buildings and such.
Right.
In this,
So there are no woods surrounding the city than just that little park.
Yes, right.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Yeah,
And you said all the trees are dead.
and all the trees are dead.
Oh, fun.
Have we seen a cemetery?
No.
You have
Just
seen
our
no
own.
cemeteries in the city and no outside the city.
Maybe they
With
recycle
their
bodies then.
emphasis on recycling,
Yeah.
Soylent
I
Green
doubt
is-
we're going to see a
The
cemetery.
Soylent Green is people.
Soylent Green, yeah, good stuff.
I'm
Yeah.
having a Soylent Orange.
Ah. Anyway, it's 10:30.
Now, if you remember,
I gotta
Soylent
call
Green
it
was
quits.
actually made out of plankton.
Yeah, in the book.
Yep.
No, actually, in the movie. That's what they said when they were in
They
the
told
open air.
people
They were in the
Soylent Green
open air
was plankton.
market. In the movie, he said, "We got some Soylent Yellow, we got some Soylent Red, and we got some Soylent Green."
Okay.
And the Soylent Green was supposed to be made out of plankton. It was the best Soylent you could get.
Aha.
Soylent Yellow was basically the equivalent of crackers. Soylent Red was the equivalent of some kind of compressed vegetable wafer.
Okay.
So you basically had your food groups of starch, vegetable, and protein.
Right.
Sure.
So yeah.
All right. Well, I'll see most of you on Wednesday then. I got a call tonight.
Oh, I didn't realize
so-
it was that late. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
10:30.
Good night.
I got to be up at 6.
Yes, Wednesday. And did you guys see my? First of all, Wednesday is going to be the last time we do this on Skype.
Right.
Secondly, is that I'm not going to be available the following 2 weeks later on the 14th.
Okay.
So I need to know whether you guys would prefer to just skip another 2 weeks and do it at the end of the month on the 28th, or the second session of the space game. Okay, or do you want to move it forward or backwards? A week. So we can.
Good night.
All right. Good night,
Whichever
Coach
one you want to do, just let me know.
I would not mind moving it forward a week. That would
So
be
next
good
week?
for me.
So this week and next week will be Space Game.
Space. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, when Wednesday comes around and we have the other people who are on the game, we can have that discussion. I just wanted to be in your head, so you're thinking
Okay.
about, so you can say what works best for me, because
Okay.
it was easier when there was just the three of us. Okay, now that we've got 6, including the GM,
Right.
it's a little bit more of a thing. That's why we always try to keep things on a regular schedule, so everyone can schedule their lives around it, and we can
Like my
rely.
Saturday game is always the first Saturday of the month. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All
Well,
right. Okay.
but we
then.
will continue to play Fringeworthy on every Monday, because I'm going to be up in Alaska in 2 weeks, but I don't leave until Tuesday.
Oh, okay. Have fun I was in Alaska. Have fun in Alaska.
Okay. Thanks,
Yeah.
guys. I'll see you later.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Kaitlin,